they're lining up at 15 years old in gas stations now, getting people to go in and buy them Kratom. There is something really wrong with that. Something really wrong. And it is the addiction level of it. So let's just get the labeling and the transparency out there so that people can make an informed decision about, do I need to take this or not?
Welcome to the Sober Spill podcast. I'm your host, Isabel. On this podcast, we have real conversations with people in recovery, their families, and organizations that pertain to this field. Today, I'm here with the host of the clinical side of our podcast, Jana.
Thank you, Isabel. My guests will discuss best clinical practices, new emerging trends in substance use and mental health disorders, and how we can best take care of ourselves and our loved ones in recovery.
See you every Thursday.
And come spill with us soon. Welcome to the Sober Spill. I am incredibly grateful to have Patti Wheeler on with us today. Patti is a film producer, a mother, an advocate, founder of A Beautiful Life Stolen. And thank you so much for coming today, Patti.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about not only the movie, but Kratom in general.
Yeah. Well, I met Patti when I went to the incredible film festival and opening of Dancing with Films in New York last month. And there was an incredible film, Kratom Side Effects May Include. This is the best comprehensive film I've ever seen on Kratom. And it was so inspiring to see how you and the Nice brothers were able to take a global issue right now and be able to put it in a way that people could understand and connect the dots and see what's going on. I wanted to see if we could just start with, if you wouldn't mind just sharing how the film came to be.
So, well, when Wyatt passed away, my first year was a blur, and I was surprised at how many people actually I hadn't contacted and really didn't know about Wyatt's passing. So one day I was sitting at home and I wanted to contact Joanne Rubino, and she is the producer of Be Brave Media, but she's more importantly one of my best friends. And she, back when we had the boys were doing a travel show called Travels with Jana and Wyatt, they were 12 years old and she was the producer. And so she knew Jana and Wyatt both really well. And I called her, and unfortunately I had to break the news to her on the phone and not in person. And she was sorry. She was devastated. And she just said immediately, this is too much, way too much to process and way too much just to sit on the sidelines. And I had said to her, you know, I want to do something. I don't know what I want to do, but what I don't want to do is just sit back and let Wyatt become another perceived overdose, because I know it was something else. And I knew from the minute it happened that it was Kratom. And she said, let's do a film. Let's do that. I think it'll be the best way. And I happen to know a couple of fantastic twins that have done some acclaimed stuff, and they'll be wonderful on the project, and you'll love them. And let's get busy. So, yeah.
Can you share the significance of twins just for our listeners that might not know, and share a bit about who Wyatt was?
Oh, wow. We're getting to that part first.
No, I could share what I've seen of him. Is he is a beautiful boy, very passionate.
Yeah.
He liked health, liked to work out, incredibly close to his brother.
He was Wyatt, I like to say, was the friend that everybody wanted to have. And he just was this gentle spirit. And one of the best qualities he had was that when you were with him, you were with him. He never picked up his phone. He didn't get on his device and make you feel like you were just, waiting for his attention. You were front and center with Wyatt. Both of my boys were just great human beings. They loved travel. They both, since they were 12, were involved in this children's book series and traveled the world. And it was all about diversity, philanthropy, teaching children, the importance of language and communicating around the world with different cultures. And he ate it up and he was happy. His happiest moments were getting in our van and canvassing schools and colleges, or not colleges, but schools and bookstores and libraries. And we would go to schools and do events, and we'd have 200-300 screaming children,
Wow.
so excited about the book series, and they couldn't wait to sign books and be a part of all that. So they just really loved children, and he was looking forward to starting that chapter in his own life. Wyatt was 27. Yeah.
I'm so sorry for your loss. I mean, he and his brother look like incredible young men. And I think, we've been studying Kratom for quite a few years, and what's so notable about it, I think, is the diversity of people that get stuck with it.
Yeah.
We've met so many different people that came about it honestly. They didn't intend to become addicted to it,
Right.
but came about it, and there weren't as many warnings certainly in 2022, and there aren't that many warnings
Yeah.
now
I
still
still
in most places.
the research that we did with our film, we don't find those warnings exist. And that is exactly, if I could if I could create a t-shirt, okay, I would say it would have three words or three things: truth, transparency, and informed consent.
Yes.
Truth, transparency, and informed consent. Those are things that I believe should be on the front. I mean, if we had that, I don't believe that you would have as many recorded deaths as we have now.
I agree, and I think that's what we've been saying has been missing, I think, for a lot of people, is particularly that informed consent of understanding, because a lot of people that come about Kratom, again, come at it from a perspective of, this is a supplement, this is a cure-all, this is a much more natural way, or like, I think the film really does an incredible job at depicting why it's been so difficult, and that, as of today, as we're filming today in, February, it is still not regulated. The DEA still considers it a substance of concern. The FDA hasn't regulated it. And unfortunately, I feel like we've all been watching this, and the film does an amazing job showing how that's been able to happen, and the way it's regulated.
Yeah.
Um,
And speaking to that point, it's one of my most perplexing issues with the whole Kratom legislation and everything that we are fighting for. Um, I guess I just can't understand if something is deemed unsafe in, say, Florida, and it's removed from the shelf because it's there. It's removed for a purpose. Science backs it. Research backs it. This is a real issue and concern, and so Florida pulls it from the shelf. Well, if it's unsafe in Florida, how can it be safe in Texas and Georgia or
Mhm.
3 states over? It just is not in a line with what we expect our federal government to do, which is protect us before it goes on a shelf. Okay, so that's what we're asking for, is consistency, transparency, proper labeling, and informed consent. We just want to be able to see the same rulings in a United States way. It's like
Mhm.
if there was a head of tainted lettuce with listeria, for instance, or bad eggs or meat or any of these products, you would hear about it from coast to coast, and it
Yep.
would be pulled instantly. So how is it that we can have so many people dying of a supplement that's on the shelf and the United States government isn't protecting its citizens from this issue? No one is trying to create outrage here, and no one is trying this film is not about outrage, it's about attention, right? We just want to have attention to understand, have better understanding of these issues. So, all we're asking for is let's do some research before you put something
Yep.
on the shelf and not pull it from the shelf because families are finding out too late about its side effects and what they may include.
Absolutely. And I think too, if we can do more research and studies and again, the informed consent, um, it would allow to those that are
Yes.
struggling to seek help. I think that's where we've also seen a huge gap is that there are so many people that don't understand and don't realize how they've gotten this stuck. And for some people, they've said it's harder to get off of than fentanyl, harder to get off than heroin, harder to get off than alcohol, than
Mhm.
benzodiazepines. I
This is what I hear.
That's pretty tough.
This is what we heard from all the scientists and all the experts that we interviewed and all the data that we researched. We didn't leave anything out. I mean, I put, I felt like we tried to strike a very fair balance because I would be the first person in line to take an alternative something if I thought that it truly was going to save my life or really be helpful. I just don't understand not sharing all the data. We need to humanize this data to make it real so that people really understand what it is they're taking before they take it. Because all kratom is addictive. And we're not talking about caffeine. We're not talking about cigarettes.
Mhm.
We're not talking about a
Mhm.
drink. We're not, those things will give you a headache when you stop taking them. Yeah, there's an addiction. I'm addicted to coffee. I'll be the first one to
Mhm.
say, in the morning I have to have it. But what am I gonna get? I'm gonna get a headache, right? My I'm not gonna be telling you a story about how my skin was crawling off
Mhm.
and I was going crazy and I was
Yep.
shaking and my digestive system went to hell, I mean, these are not issues, tremors. These aren't the things that I'm gonna experience coming off of coffee.
Mhm. Well, I think what for so many people too, it's a lot of people that I've met too, it's really profound anxiety, which makes it very difficult to stay off of it. So you have the physical symptoms, like you mentioned, the restless leg syndrome, not being able to sleep sometimes for
Yeah,
days, which is really, a form of torture.
yeah.
And then in addition, having profound physical the symptoms and then the profound anxiety, which makes it very difficult. So we've seen a lot of people struggle with, rebound. And then the really tricky part is not only are they craving it, they're feeling anxious, they feel terrible in their body, but it's so accessible. So for a lot of people, I'm in New York today. You walk around New York City, it is in so many bodegas. So can you imagine that if you're trying so hard to avoid
Right.
something and it's easier to get than liquor? Like easier than going to a liquor store, like you're going to get a candy bar, a banana, or a smoothie, and you can easily pick up kratom.
As much as
And
you want,
I know and can
as much as you
as
want.
much as you want.
Yeah. This
Hmm.
is, and I've said this, and I don't mean to offend anyone, who's had a real struggle with fentanyl and all these other unbelievably horrible drugs. But in some ways, it is just as bad, if not worse, because you can go to the drugstore or you can go to the gas station and buy as much as you want. Um, and that accessibility makes it really worse in my view because it just continues to feed this cycle. of addiction.
Well, and it also further destigmatizes it. If something has been
Right.
deemed for, we're going on, like, I think it was tried to be banned in 2016. So it's been 10 years. And if it hasn't happened yet, a lot of people have that psychology of like, well, it can't be that bad. And if it's here and if it's unregulated and I can just buy it, how could it be that bad? So again, then I think people further stigmatize themselves if they do struggle, like it must be something wrong with me, instead of seeing how they got tricked.
I think that could be one of the reasons why we're running into not resistance, but just there's so many film distributors out here. And if there's 4 or 5 people sitting on a panel deciding on who gets on Netflix or who gets on what platform or the other, right? And no one on that panel has ever heard of Kratom, then the mindset might very well be, well, it can't be that bad. I mean, I haven't heard how many people are dying, but from, I mean, I can't, we tried really hard to back this up. I did read this somewhere in a forum or something, but I can't say exactly. But in 2017 to 2018, there were some report of almost 30,000 deaths. That's a lot. But what we do know is that from 2022 to 2026, the spike in addiction has gone from, or users has gone from 2 million to 28 million. That's a
Yes,
huge
that's huge.
spike. And how many of these people have just walked into a gas station and seen what they thought was a 5-hour energy drink or a healthy, feel-free bottle and started consuming it. And then the next thing you know, one just doesn't do it for them. And so then I have countless stories of before long, before I knew it, I was up to 19 bottles. That's a big
And
chunk.
yeah. And each bottle is usually more than a serving. So it's also like it not only is, the lack of transparency, I think, also comes through the dosage,
Mhm.
where so many people have, so you're addicted to several bottles, but it's hard to even actually quantify how much you're taking, which is really quite scary when you think about that. If you didn't know how much medicine was in a serving,
Right. I think that's exactly what
it,
happened to Wyatt. My last weekend was Wyatt was October 6th, 2022, and we were in Aspen together with a whole bunch of friends, and I walked into his bathroom and I saw a bottle of Urban Ice, and I said, well, before I mentioned it to him, being the investigative mom that I am, I went online and I looked it up, and the first thing I saw was a man sitting on the side of the bed with his head in his hands, and it was talking about how addictive Kratom was. And so I looked at the bottle of Urban Ice and I saw that Kratom was an ingredient. And I said to Wyatt, I don't know why you started taking this supplement. And he said, Mom, I don't want to drink. I'm trying to give up alcohol. So I don't want to drink. And this is a supplement that is a healthy alternative. So I said, just right now, I don't like what I was reading. Can we just not do it? Can we just say no to this right now and pick anything, whatever, I don't know, but let's look at other options and not, maybe not do this right now. And he said, okay, I won't. But he started taking OPMS extracts, and 2 weeks later, he was gone. Yeah, he was gone in 2 weeks. And those extracts are 50 to 100 times more powerful than some of the other things that are on the shelf. And that's really what we're want to talk about right now is like, maybe if we can take positive baby steps, but always moving forward, always finding the answers, always really looking at the data again, humanize the data, make it transparent so that people can have informed consent. Those are the key ingredients, I believe, to getting us where we need to be with Kratom, instead of just making it the Wild West.
And it's very difficult because I know, for example, Connecticut is trying to pass some legislation, and they are looking at banning all of Kratom, not just 7-OH. And, we're looking at some states that are, and right now, currently, our federal government is looking at banning 7-OH. One of the things that comes up a lot for people is this is, a nat. If you're listening and you don't know what Kratom is, it is a plant, and it comes from Southeast Asia. It's been used for centuries. It was used ceremonially. It was used for day laborers, people that were working out in hot conditions, working all day long, chewing the leaf or dehydrating the leaf and bringing it into a tea. The way it's taken now, particularly in the United States, is so supersized yet condensed in a small bottle. When we talk about the elixirs, in case people don't know, these elixirs have, like Patti mentioned, hundreds of times more of the most psychoactive component in the plant. But the plant is, kratom, or also mitragynine, and that has a psychoactive component in it. Also, the 7-hydroxymitragynine, which is incredibly psychoactive and very addictive. And what we've done here, in several industrialized countries and other places, is really extract that chemical, that alkaloid, and create products that have amount of that alkaloid that you could never get just from the leaf. It would be impossible to get that much.
That's right.
So it's again, this potency. Our bodies aren't meant to have that potency. And so what we see is seizures, we see hallucinations, we see psychosis, we see some really scary effects of the body saying, this is toxic to me. You mentioned the skin when people are withdrawing. It's also when people are actively using. I've had so many people with hyperpigmentation, extreme itchiness in their skin. Their skin is literally crawling because their body has reached a point where this is very toxic. And unfortunately, when a lot of people go, to their primary care doctor and try to explain it, I think you're right that a lot of people still don't know what it is. And so then their doctor's saying, I don't know what you're talking about. And then they're looking, and it's like, it's difficult to find reliable information because we just don't have the research yet. So for a lot of medical professionals, it's very difficult to understand and to know where to send someone that's struggling.
Well, I know Mayo Clinic has done quite a pretty good job of creating a forum for Kratom, some guidelines to say, basically, here's the thing. All Kratom is addictive. I mean, even on the film, we have one gentleman who his wife was just absolutely beautiful. Beautiful. And he was so distraught. He couldn't really maintain a lot of the interview. And so we weren't really able to use a lot of his interview because he was just such a mess that he lost his wife. And she was doing pure leaf Kratom. So one of the little secrets is that if you boil Kratom and make it into a tea, you up the ampage of the mitragynine. So that is something that a lot of people aren't realizing. You just need to stir it, I guess, in a glass, but the minute you turn it into a tea. Well, when she passed away, he found something like 30 pounds of green leaf in her closet. And he was just like, I don't understand. How could someone just continue to ship that much Kratom to one person without checking anything? There's just no way to check these things.
Well, and unfortunately, it makes me think of a few things. One, it's a very unregulated industry that we know. There's some estimations that right now it's like about a $2.2 to $5.6 billion industry, but by 2030, they're anticipating up to $20 billion global industry. And it's thought, the United States, currently there are some some thoughts that the United States is the biggest importer of Kratom now from Indonesia. And, that is now their biggest export is Kratom. So it's pretty big how big this is right now, and how people are in a lot of pain. Just because we have more awareness of the opioid epidemic doesn't mean that any of the pain that caused the opioid epidemic has gone away.
Right.
So unfortunately, having this in the free market when people are still really struggling with either chronic pain or emotional or psychological pain, it makes for, a very challenging situation for addiction.
It does. It does. And if you look at the platform of Kratom, it's going straight down the same path that the opioids went down. Let's give more, up the dosage,
Mhm.
up the ampage, up the strength. Let's not stop at powder, which was getting pretty popular on college campuses amongst
Oh,
18-year-olds
yeah.
in
Mhm.
2016. 2016 and 2017, I think there was it was pretty popular in that leaf farm. But, once it went from making a drink, it went into the capsules. And so
Mhm.
who wants to take 20 capsules 3 times a day? We have great interviews on the film that talk about that. Let me decide. Okay, 20 capsules 3 times a day, or how many of these little extract bottles,
Mhm.
which equates to maybe 20, or I don't even know. Who knows? Nobody knows, really.
I actually would love to talk about how did you find people that were willing to speak on your film? I think one thing we haven't really touched on in so much is that it can be controversial and some or complex to talk about kratom because so many people. There are a lot of lobbyists. There are a lot of people that believe that it is not dangerous and are really, really, really scared of it being taken away. How did you find people that were willing to talk to you on
Well,
film?
first of all, before I say that, well, why do you think they're so scared of having it taken away?
Well, actually, I do think, I know from people in Florida when 7-OH was pulled off the shelves, people went into
Yeah,
withdrawal. And it is really
well,
scary.
that's
So I
it.
think too, when we take things away without giving people supports in, it's terrifying. So I think there's that. I think there are many people that swear it is the best thing for their PTSD, their alcohol use disorder, opiate use disorder. So that is their thought that this is saving them from something else. Um, but again, I think what we're looking at is the truth, the
Mm,
transparency, and the informed consent,
exactly.
which they shouldn't be diametrically opposed arguments. That
Exactly.
we can have both. We can have people
I had
that would like to take it for medical
I had
reasons.
a lot of people, I had more people than we could use. I mean, I wish I could do
Really?
a couple of films and be supported on all different platforms, because once people found out that our film was sort of not or bipartisan, we were
Hmm.
gonna tell both sides. I think we were pretty sought out at that point because there were a lot of people who wanted to talk about what Kratom meant to them and share their stories. Um, but it was equally important to have the families. So I think that once we made the film, created the documentary, wrapped it up, had it all buttoned and ready to go, it's really about you watching the film and then you making the decision and hopefully spreading the word and being able to talk. Because for me, our biggest area, my biggest area of concern going forward now is these 18-year-olds that are going into college.
Hmm.
They're away from the nest for the first time. They're not of drinking age. Marijuana is not legal in every state that in all 50 states. So they could be attending a college where marijuana is illegal. They can't drink. They're going to a party. What are they going to do? What do they want to do? And here's this kratom alternative, right? So they're the most vulnerable population, in my opinion. I just feel like we have to get the word out to them to let them know that it is addictive. This is an addictive substance, highly addictive. And you need to know what you're doing by taking any of it.
I'm Ricky, recovery support clinician. Managing withdrawal symptoms no longer means leaving home. Mountainside's new outpatient withdrawal management programs provide confidential, professional support with daily check-ins from our psychiatric and clinical team. It is designed for your busy life so you can heal without disruption. Find out more at mountainside.com.
Well, I think I did a presentation recently nationally for a lot of collegiate recovery specialists. So they are seeing college students that are choosing to explore sobriety or harm reduction. And it was a really important discussion we had because many of the addiction supports were saying, yeah, that they were seeing a lot of students come in with trying to choose this as an alternative. So it's an important conversation to have. If you're choosing this as an alternative from another substance like alcohol, here are some of the concerns. Again, having these discussions is so important, and giving people real data.
I
I
agree.
want to say, too, I want to go back to what you said to Wyatt when you found the bottles is so important. And I wish more parents would take that approach, that curious stance to like, okay, I'm going to find out more about this. And then instead of like going to punishment, going to like, let's have a conversation. Here are my concerns. Would you be willing to try something different? I mean, that's what I heard you say, which is so beautiful. I think for families to try that approach, because so many families get really scared right at that moment.
There are, there's drugs that are not addictive that are on the market for anxiety. There are drugs that are on the market in pharmaceutical form for alcohol. Actually, I think Wyatt had a prescription for something. I say the name and it's always wrong because people always correct me. So I won't say it, but
Okay.
I had a discussion with my hormone doctor after Wyatt passed, and I said, yeah, he was on this, whatever that was. And he said, well, why'd you tell him not to take that? Because he should have been taking it. And I immediately felt bad because, like a parent who doesn't know, you're not informed. I didn't know. I wasn't big on pharmaceuticals, period. I didn't want him to take something he might not need. But he did need it. He did want it. And so, yes, one of my biggest regrets is just, what am I saying? My biggest regret is not being there that day.
Well, it's very brave that what you're giving so many other families right now, though.
I just want to be able to say to them, like, if you see something, if your sibling or your child or your husband or, your boyfriend or anybody in your life, your sister, they're acting a little anxious and maybe have tremors or maybe having gastro problems and, acting and looking a little pasty, ask them if they're taking a supplement. I remember in 2000, there was a supplement that was on the market for weight loss and everybody was taking it. Oh my gosh. I can't even remember the name of it. I wish I could recall.
Was it Fen-Phen?
Well,
A lot of people think
came off
Fen-Phen.
the market. This one wasn't
Yeah, that's what I was
Fen-Phen. This
thinking.
one wasn't Fen-Phen. This
Okay.
was this one I can't remember, but everybody was taking this diet herbal supplement. And I took one. And I remember walking outside and looking up and begging God to just please get this out of my
Make it
system.
stop.
Because I was so sensitive to either the caffeine or whatever was in it. My heart was racing. I couldn't take it. And it was herbal. But this is how we all get tripped up, okay? We're all explorers, in our nature, we want to try things, and a lot of people want to be on the cutting edge of whatever is on the market. It's trending, and that's all great until I use a term when I traveled with the kids, and we would go to Africa, and we would be out looking at the animals and everything, and I'd always say, "Yes, it's safe until it isn't."
Mhm. Well, that's what I say about kratom is once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Right.
It's once people see it, you can't. When that switch happens, there's no going back.
Yep.
And I feel like, your film is going to help people see that once they see the film and they'll see everywhere. Because again, it's only banned in 6 states. And there are several other states that have like sub-state bans. For example, certain parts of Colorado, certain parts of Massachusetts, certain communities are saying we don't want this in our community. But you can drive over to another community. So again, and what that does to people when we have that mismatch and that incongruency of like, if it's safe one town over, how can it not be safe here? And it
What I
starts, and I think we're also at this age too, which as a culture, where there's some cynicism of thinking, that they just don't want me to have it or they just want big pharma. Somehow, a lot of things were conflated because I think that's where we sort of saw Kratom have this incredible rise in 2020. People were so frustrated with the situation. Everyone was going online, finding, like Dr. Google type of things and researching our healthcare. And then here comes something that's saying it's safe, it's natural, it's been used for centuries.
Right. And I can't disagree with that. I mean, I can't disagree with there's people who do certain drugs, like I'm very sensitive to certain drugs, but there are people who do certain things and they do them effectively and for a long, long time, and they have no problem and nothing happens. But it's just what I just said. It's safe until it isn't. And we're not, the purpose of the film, to be clear, it is not to take kratom away from anyone. It's not to create this ban on kratom. I don't want to take something from someone it's really helping them. What I want is and I feel like common sense, just common
Mhm.
sense should prevail. Let's do labeling. Let's do transparency about what's in it, proper labeling, and then you get informed consent. And that's it. If we can accomplish that, then I don't think you're going to need a lobbyist group, AKA, or the
Mhm.
GKA. Why do you need them? The
Those are
the FDA
yeah.
and the DEA and all the people are the powers that be, whoever they are, they're doing their job. They're protecting
Mhm.
you. You need protection. An 18-year-old or a 14-year-old that was walking into a gas station and the person behind the counter could care less. They think they're selling a 5-hour energy drink. They don't know. Oh, the mom probably doesn't
Mhm.
let her have Red Bull, you know?
Mhm.
S- They're lining up at 15 years old in gas stations now, getting people to go in and buy them kratom. There is something really
Mhm.
wrong with that.
Mhm.
Something really wrong. And it is the addiction level of it. So let's just get the labeling and the transparency out there so that people can make an informed decision about, do I need to take this or not? That's it. I don't see why any user would have a problem with that. And most users that I know
Mhm.
are all in agreement that somebody needs to do something about the concentrates, the
Yep.
extracts, the 7-OHs, because when you talk about 7-OH, you're selling something that is 15 to 20 times more powerful than morphine in a gas station.
Mhm.
No.
Yeah, it's not where we should be buying our medicine. It isn't. It's not where we should be buying our medicine, especially unregulated. I mean, there are other places too. I have to say, a lot of vape shops say now that this is their biggest seller. Also, adult novelty stores that now so much of that work has gone online. That kratom is some adult novelty stores' bestseller now.
Wow.
There's a lot of money to be had in different venues. So It's quite scary. I think what I always say is my hope is always for all, more research and more support too for those that are struggling. We do have a kratom detox, and so many people have come in and needed a medical detox, had to get comfortable to get well, to also look at some of the underlying, things that led them to the addiction. The other thing is, again, I have this kratom support group that has been like international. It's just been incredible to watch it over the years to see what is bringing people in, and how they've created this incredible community. There's a whole community of people, as you're aware too, that are in recovery from kratom
Right.
and talking about it and trying to protect others. It's a pretty significant community. I mean,
It's grown.
it's out of the Reddit forums, it's out of the subreddits. It's like out there of people saying we need to talk about this and we need to support each other because it is so hard. And for a lot of people, they can't do it alone. I think one thing I've heard you speak on that is so important to me too is that it is very big in the weightlifting community. I know it's very big
Right.
in the women's weightlifting community. And I think, again, here's a place where people are often trying to take care of themselves, but also want maybe faster results, or don't want to eat as much, or want to avoid some pain.
Yeah.
And it can be really, really challenging for a lot of people that are trying to take care of their bodies.
That was an interesting space for me actually to know about that. I mean, I knew that if you take a little kratom, it gives you supposedly more
Energy.
energy, right? And if you take a
Hmm.
medium amount, it kind of calms you down. And then if you take a lot, it gives you that sedative effect.
Yep.
No one tells you or bothers to tell you how much you need to take to achieve these things. You have to kind of find out yourself. And that takes me to Kylie Goss in Dallas, Texas, whose son was 18 years old. And he walked into a store in Texas and bought a pumped up 7-OH tablet. He took one, laid down on his friend's couch, and died. 18. But going back to the workout community, because that's where we were what we were talking about, I just didn't see it. I thought I knew that the workout community and a lot of men took what is it,
Well,
testosterone.
there's steroids or
Yeah, and
testosterone.
the other
Yeah.
stuff,
Hmm.
that pumps you up. um, gosh, I can't think of it right this second, but but I just didn't see kratom as being something that, but maybe for, I don't know. I was a little shocked at that.
Well, there's one more too that's a little shocking sometimes. I run a lot of treatment groups and outpatient groups, and we have had people that will be like, talk about, I'm getting this drink every day on my way in, and all of a sudden it's becoming a habit. And like, what are you drinking? We've had a few people with kratom seltzers that they started picking them up on the way in, and then realizing like something is not right here, that I'm wanting one of these before I go into group. So it's infiltrated different spaces. And how do you tell the difference between a kratom drink and all the other plethora of seltzers, health seltzers that are now available? It's very difficult for people to tell, there's so many different products out there to
Right.
know that this is one that could actually be addictive. And so thank God people were asking people, and people are talking about it, and that people are starting to be aware that I'm liking this too much. There's
Right.
something here. It's different than a caffeine drink. There's something in this where I can't go without it to go to group.
Well, one of the things, I mean, one of the things that strikes me about, just for example, feel free, right? Somebody said, uh, in feel free, it says contains kava and other ingredients. It doesn't even
Mm.
list kratom. And so I was watching this one podcast with this woman, and she was talking about how she felt like it has just ruined her life, because she started out with one, and then before she knew it, she was buying 18 bottles a day, consuming 18. Um, I think a lot of these products maybe don't contain, even let you know that there's kratom in it. And somebody asked me yesterday something interesting. Can you now mix some kratom into the vape pens, into some of the weed stuff
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yep.
being legalized. I was like, "Oh my God, I don't know. I hope not, but I think maybe you can." So there's a lot of stuff that we have to watch out for. And after this, there'll be something else that we have to advocate for. I mean, it's just someone has to step up. Someone has
Mm-hmm.
to help lead a charge. It takes a village of people to make something happen. And in this industry, it is really, I mean, we're pushing a huge boulder uphill. Huge, massive. Um I don't want to step on toes, but I just don't want anybody else to die because they're not understanding what it is they're buying at a gas station and a vape store. I just want to save lives. My son was beautiful. And to know that what his brother, Gannon, had to endure that night, they were going to play video games. And Gannon went downstairs to play a video game, and he heard a ruckus upstairs. And he came running up, and he caught his brother as he fell in his arms by himself. And the paramedics are telling him, how to give mouth to mouth. And, Gannon's struggling because Wyatt had bit his tongue in half.
Oh,
So I can only imagine the scene that he had to go through. And nobody should have to go through that.
nobody should.
No one should wake up from a sleep and your mate is not breathing in the bed next to you. Nobody should come home and find their child. This is wrong. We need to get it right. And once we get it right, there shouldn't be an issue anymore. But we need to do the right thing right now. And it might be a hard thing to do. Doing the right thing oftentimes isn't easy. Right?
Yeah, it's true.
So that's what the film is about. It's about transparency matters, informed consent matters. We have to just proper information. Good information can save lives.
Absolutely. I thank you for using your voice to bring this issue to a larger mass, to share with more people. Where and when can more people see your film? It is absolutely incredible. It was one of the best things I've seen in so long. I learned so much, and even though I've been studying this for years and more, I got excited about your advocacy, and it is such a balanced approach for people that want an educational, balanced approach. This is an amazing film. I hope it is shown at schools. I hope universities and high schools, and we can really get this film out to the community. But how can people see it?
Well, that's the little bit of a rub right now. We have it with 2 mainstream platforms, 2 biggies, and they're looking at it. If they turn it down, there's a few more for us to go to. So my real hope is for sure by summer, we have either a mainstream platform that we can direct traffic to, or we have another source. At this moment, right now, currently, basically, you can go to A Beautiful Life Stolen, or you can go to a Kratom movie, or, Claim Stake Productions, Be Brave Media. You can look at these different sources and see the trailer. And the trailer is quite good, but it is not the movie.
It's excellent.
So, just stay with us, and pretty soon we're gonna have it streaming somewhere. I know it will, because
I can't wait.
my angel is producing it from.
Wyatt's working hard
He's
on it.
working
Yeah,
overtime. I know he is.
I believe it, and I will say I found out about your film from my group members. They sent me the trailer, and they're like, as soon as I saw the trailer, I messaged my team. I'm like, we have to go, and it is
Yeah.
so incredible, and I thank you for using your voice in this way and for your advocacy. And your story is so important, and no one can take that away, and no one can dispute your story. No one can dispute what happened to your family. So thank you for sharing it more, though, because I know it's got to be incredibly painful.
Well, on behalf of the thousands and thousands of other stories that, I hope to give voice to them and not stay silent. So that's the purpose of it. And I really thank you so much for having me on today. It's just, I know we're going in the right direction. We're going in the right direction.
Yeah, well, I look forward to connecting with you again. I'm headed to Orlando tonight to the 5th Kratom Symposium, which I'm excited to hear about more research.
Yeah.
And hopefully see where we are all going together, like as a community, because something absolutely has to change. So thank you so much, Patti, for your time and making the time to come on the Sober Spill.
Right.
We appreciate you.
Thank you, Jana.
Thank
It was so good.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, Mountainside can help. Call 860-365-6764 to speak with our caring treatment team.